the Shedeur Sanders thing before we move on to other topics and other subjects about how we'll move forward to help a team is I think it's somewhere we all speculate. We always do. Somewhere between, oh, he wasn't talented enough to be drafted before the 5th round. There's always something new that comes up around draft time. But in this, he was talented enough to be drafted by some before this. Some don't think he's going to be a great player. He does. And then there's the in-between of, did everybody collude to tell us that Shedeur Sanders wasn't going to be part of this draft? That now the NFL, get on a Zoom call, 32 teams don't like him. No. Was it the total other extreme that he should have been the first pick of this draft, that he was more talented than Cam Ward? That answer is no either. So it falls somewhere in between. I think it comes down to this one. Do I believe that there's an owner or two out there that said, I don't want him here, take him off the draft board because he's not my kind of player? Sure. I'm sure that I believe there's some smoke where that fire is, or fire where that smoke is, should I say? No question. Do I also believe that it was all 32? No. Do I believe that all 32 teams loved Shedeur Sanders? Absolutely not. Do I believe some liked him along the way? Yeah. Now he's got a chance to go prove it, prove everybody otherwise that didn't think he was a first-round pick and didn't take him. Do I think that he hurt himself in interviews, and if his dad's saying he's a top 5 pick, we're going to make sure there's some teams I'm not going to let draft him? Do I think that there's something that went on also that where the presence of Deion became part of it? I do. Do I think the interview process with Shedeur Sanders and is kind of being standoffish at times, even though he's an engaging personality from some of these interviews and the way in it? I do. So what happens is there's extreme one way, he sucks. No, he doesn't. Extreme the other way, he should have been the first pick of the draft. No, he shouldn't have. And the collusion, no. Do I find it somewhere in between, JB? I do. I think it's a combination of he wasn't a first-round pick. They overplayed their hand. Some of these owners probably said, you know what, we're not interested in bringing that here. It's too much of a helicopter headache. And then the Browns felt around the 5th round was a nice, the helicopter headache's not there. And some other team's owner may have said, don't do it. But here we are, JB. Now it's time for him to go to work and see if he's worthy of being on the 53-man roster. But here's the key. He was never good enough. And when I say good enough, they didn't watch the tape they watched, never said first pick of the draft. And he's good enough to tank interviews, not show up, that no matter what, that his talent's still going to make him a top 10 pick in this first round. And that just wasn't the case. Maybe it would have been for Cam Ward because he's better at this stage of their career. But I think it falls somewhere in between. I think some of it's true and not all of it. And we already know that the race thing had nothing to do with this.
Yeah, it is what it is. We thought, you and I predicted it. We thought it would be between the 3rd and the 4th and the 5th round guy. That's what his grade was. And listen, we can compare. I don't think people understand the difference between college career and what they project to be in the NFL, Sean. I think we get caught up with that too much. We think, I could tell you, Shedeur, I would take Shedeur in college over Milroe, over Shook, over these guys. But in the NFL, he does not translate to be better than those guys. And that's the problem, and that's the difference. So,
yeah, if you're talking about if we took a draft and said, hey, we're coming back to play another year of college football, we're drafting the college players to come back and play college, and it's a free-for-all draft like the transfer portal, then he would have gone higher than the 5th round. But you're talking about the translation from NFL skill set, from college skill set to NFL skill set, and how does it translate to that? Well, let me ask you this, JB. If you don't think his skill set translates as well, just for the hell of it, whether it's you or anybody else or me, with a pocket guy who is had in his conference in the games he played, his completion pretty accurate thrower, some inconsistencies. So accurate and a pocket guy without being able to extend. He's not a big play extender, but probably a little bit better athlete than we think, or that we give credit for, should I say. So if you like pocket guys and you like guys that deliver the ball and get hit in the mouth, why doesn't he translate to the NFL?
This is a deal. I don't think people realize the offense he was in, Sean, is a RPO, 4 wide, 10 personnel, get the ball caught and get it out. Then you add that you had the best player.
Real quick, tell them what 10 personnel is so they know.
It's 4 receivers, 1 running back. And what happens is, Sean, remember, out of those 4 wide receivers, I believe 3 of them were drafted. You got a Horn, you got the best player in college football, arguably, right, Travis Hunter. And then you put that into what we thought would be a good conference, ended up being a horrible one in the Big 12, right? So you combine all of that versus guys who played in the SEC or other conferences against better talent on defense. That's how you translate, and that's how you and I evaluate quarterbacks. We understand your college career, but we also saw no knock on these guys, but Andre Wares and Tim Tebow's and legendary college players not translate over to the NFL, right?
Right.
So again, we see an offense that is RPO, get it out laterally, 80% bubble screen, bubble throws, get it out quick to Travis Hunter, get it out there, and then you throw the deep ball in there when everybody sucks up to your ultimate talented wideouts, and it looks like, oh, this guy's a legit NFL guy. But in theory, no, it's not, Sean. It's actually more of a what is it? A smoke screen. Yeah. And that's kind of what it is. So,
all right, JB, real quick, we're going to bring Tony Pauline here shortly and introduce him to our audience. And we love this interactive stuff, but just fire questions and kind of go back and how these guys fit from college to pro. JB, going back to this, you mentioned Colorado and the wide receivers and the skill set. Do you believe, and do we believe that there's a chance? Well, let me ask, can Shedeur Sanders be, well, give me your A, B, C, or D grade on him college first. If I said, JB, you're the guy, you're the final answer. Tell me what kind of player he was, A, B, C, or D. You don't need an explanation. Just give me a letter grade.
I go B. I love the kid's toughness and grit, getting hit in the mouth, getting back up. He took several hits, probably for the hate,
as much as anybody, right?
Yeah, he took the hits too for guys trying to get to him because of the money he made and the social media influence and how popular he was. Some people will say he's cocky and arrogant. I don't mind the cocky and arrogance as a quarterback. You and I both talked, and we all had that cocky arrogance. This is a different level, though, because of the prevalence of social media, cell phones, and etc. So I'm gonna.
And he didn't hide it either, JB, with the money signs and the jackets, right?
Yeah.
All right, so you give him a solid B or a B to B plus, B minus,
I'd give him a B minus if we're going to give all three. I'd give him a B minus because I don't believe his arm strength's there. I don't believe he has pocket presence, and I don't believe he's a freak athlete. He's good enough to ad lib in the pocket, but I don't think his grit and determination allow him to be even better than his skill set. His skill set's not very good. I'm just going to tell you. He throws a good deep ball, Don, but he doesn't throw anything else.
Okay, let's move real quick, and we'll bring Tony in here, and we're looking forward to having him on. Is there a chance in your mind, depending on how he's coached, that he can be a better pro than college? 10 years from now, whether he lasts in the league that long or however, will we be saying better college career, better pro career, Shedeur Sanders?
College all day.
And so if you got him as a B minus in the college, you think he's a C guy? He's a backup trying to make a team is how you feel.
Sean, other than, okay, we have the obvious Tom Brady's and all those guys. You know better than anybody. You kind of can answer the question that you just asked me. Where does a fifth rounder usually end up in the NFL when you take a quarterback in the fifth round? Usually he's a practice squad guy or cut, right?
Yeah, so, unless he impresses and you get somebody, unless he has one of those awesome preseasons. Put it this way, you get no special treatment as a fifth round guy. Now, I don't know if that's going to hold true for Shedeur Sanders. Let's get with our guy. Here we are on Show Us and Rumble and the Unpaved. Grateful to have him on. He's been covering this for a long time. You can catch him on Twitter at Tony Pauline. That's Pauline. And he's the consulting editor and NFL draft analyst for sportskeeda.com. You guys see their stuff. We see it all over. Tony, welcome in, my man. Great to have you. As if I didn't, the world didn't pepper you with all your draft stuff, and you got to go on and answer it and put all this draft board and mock drafts and next year and all that together. And here I am bugging you a few days after saying we need you on here too, brother. So thanks for spending time with us, man.
Listen, the draft is a 24/7 business for me. I take a week or so off. I'll get the urge, and in 2 weeks I'll be watching the MAC film to prepare for the 2026 film. I loved your talk on Shedeur Sanders. Let me just add one thing. Coming into the season, scouts graded him as a mid-second round choice. So at no point in the process did NFL teams, decision makers, scouts actually have Shedeur Sanders as a first rounder.
All right, Tony, is he a better, in your mind, from your evaluation, the people you've talked to, and you said mid-second rounder going into the season. So their question, did we see more or less from him through the season? So I'll ask you, better chance to be a better pro, or has he maxed out his shelved out in college?
My big concerns with him being a pro is how's he going to take to new coaching? I mean, his father has been his coach his entire life. Now he's going to go into a system where it's strange surroundings. He's going to have to listen to other people. Will he be able to take instruction from other people? That was part of the problem of the entire interview process with Shedeur Sanders. To answer your question, I hope he's a better pro than a college player. I just don't see it.
Tony, how do you get, I haven't been in those situations, haven't played 10 years. How do you manage with all that? You got the old guy in Joe who's been great, Flacco. You got Kenny Pickett, who's still in some infancy of his career, wants reps. And now you got Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, and you got $230 million looming, who's probably not going to play this year. So one or two of them are going to be out, probably one, and then Watson. So how do you manage Dillon Gabriel? And from your knowledge of situations like this, how are they going to manage Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders just in training camp to get enough reps to prove they belong?
Yeah, I think Dillon Gabriel was brought in all along to be a backup quarterback, which is why I don't understand using a third-round selection on him. It's going to basically, I think Shedeur Sanders is going to get the majority of the reps. When you get through the season, you got a GM and a head coach on a short leash. Whoever is going to give them the best opportunity to win, in my opinion, Joe Flacco, is going to be on the field. The sad thing is, regardless of whether it's before the draft, during the draft, or after the draft, all the cameras are going to be on Shedeur Sanders. They're not going to worry about Mason Graham, who was their first pick. They're not going to worry about Carson Schwarzenegger, who was their second-round pick. They're going to still focus, the media, that's what I'm talking about, on Shedeur Sanders. Dillon Gabriel, I don't expect him to really get a lot of reps because he was brought in to be their backup quarterback.
Tony Pauline, JB, myself, it's unpaved here. JB, at the end of training camp is Shedeur Sanders on a team or playing somewhere else? Is he on this very team? Or I guess it's going to come down to, is it him or Kenny Pickett? Who do you in your mind proves to you? And Tony, you're the same way. Both of you guys, this question, who do you think comes out of this thing just from sheer talent alone on the right side of this to have a chance to move forward?
I'll go first real quick. Tony, good to see you. I think it's going to come down to Flacco and Pickett for the starting spot. One of those guys will get moved because the organization will look too bad.
He might get moved to his couch, JB. He might just say, okay, starting here. Then somebody will call him 3 weeks later, right? Have him start for them. It's always awesome to watch him do his thing.
Yeah, I just don't see how you keep Pickett and him and then keep 2 draft picks. I don't know. Tony might agree. I think you get rid of Pickett or whoever loses that starting spot, and then you're going to keep Dillon and Shedeur, and one of them will probably go practice squad. Usually a 5th-round pick, Sean, as you know, Tony, he probably gets moved. Either he's a practice squad guy or he's cut. So I don't. If you cut Shedeur Sanders, you're going to be labeled everything in the book, and I think it's going to be impossible to do. But
and Tony, before you answer that real quick, it comes down to you're probably not keeping Pickett and Flacco. I mean, one of them, the winner of the job stays. The other one, you either move or he gets cut. And then Gabriel, or maybe you're back up. The third guy has to prove that he belongs there, that they think that they got a project they can keep or put on practice squad or move him on. Tony agreed with that sentiment what JB's talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be Flacco for a couple of reasons. Number one, Flacco won when he was there in Cleveland the last time that he brought him through the playoffs. I also think that Flacco's a better mentor for Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel than Kenny Pickett, who's basically on his 3rd team and has been nothing but a first-round bust. So I would be surprised if Pickett makes the active roster. I think it's going to be Flacco. I mean, Gabriel, maybe they put him on injured reserve to kind of hide him for a year. I would be surprised if Shedeur Sanders is not on the Browns roster come week 1.
Yeah, there you go. And the pressure, JB, that they're going to face once you got him in-house, now the pressure is, especially if he has a couple good, makes a few throws in preseason games. Tony, let's move forward now. I think we've spent a lot of time on Shedeur and what he brings. So just kind of going through from this draft, from last year, what you saw, now moving the ads to these teams, which team improved the most? And putting grades on people's hard to do because with the transfer, the translation from college to pro, but just from the talent and what teams needed, a couple teams that improved the most for you after this 2025 draft.
I'm going to go first with the New England Patriots. They got a new head coach there who's a proven winner. You got a good young quarterback you want to improve that quarterback. You want to help him take the next step. What did the Patriots do? They went and they got one of the best, probably the best pure left tackle in this draft, which was a sore spot for him. They went and they got Drake May some weapons and Travion Henderson and Kyle Williams, the receiver who they took in the 3rd round. They also took Joshua Farmer in the 4th round, a real good defensive alignment. So I think all 4 of those rookies are going to be productive and are basically going to be on the field early in the season for the New England Patriots, who I think they're going to be very competitive this year. I also think the New York Giants help themselves. Granted, you got to hope that Russell Wilson's going to go through the season, but in Abdul Carter, they got the best player in the draft with the 3rd selection of the draft. Jackson Dart, I don't think they gave away all that much for him, for a player they hope will lead the franchise at the quarterback position in the future. They take Darius Alexander in the 3rd round, the playmaker that they hope they can line up next to Dexter Lawrence. Marcus Bowe in the 5th round, the offensive lineman from Purdue. He's got good upside, a good future player. And Thomas Fidone in the 7th round, the tight end from Nebraska. I think he's going to be a real good number 2 tight end. I think they really helped themselves a lot. For a side note, I think the Eagles did a great job, but the Eagles are Super Bowl champions. I think the only problem with the Eagles draft is there are not enough spots on their roster for all the talented players that Howie Roseman selected.
Real quick on getting back to the Giants, is Dable, could he be playing for guys he drafted that somebody else is going to coach him? How important is this season, or is it a hall pass season since he got 2 good draft picks, or does he have to make the playoffs or at least show great progress for this team to get back to where they were when people were in love with Brian Dable? Where's his status right now in your mind?
I think it's the latter. They've got to play competitive football, and they got to be in games. If they go, 4-13 and they're getting blown out, it's going to be bye-bye for Brian Dable. If they go 7-10, but they lose a couple of close games because of inexperience or they're missing pieces here, I think they bring Dable back. I don't think he's got to make the playoffs, but I think he's got to be competitive, and the Giants have to be in games throughout the season.
Hey, JB, do you have a rookie in this? And Tony, you mentioned Abdul Carter, Tony, but I get a few other ideas in mind. JB, with the quarterback position, if you're going like someone like Cam Ward, got the ball in your hand 65 snaps a game, we talk about impact. So maybe looking at this, and it doesn't even have to be a first rounder. Is there an impact player or 2 rookies that you see jumping right in and saying, that dude's a monster and he impacts them? I'm talking about the second he gets off the team bus.
Abdul Carter comes to mind. Obviously, we'll see what happens with Travis, because I'm curious to see what he ends up playing. If you force feed him and playing him 2 positions, I think you're going to ruin the kid before he gets going. That's my personal opinion. I want to see him do something and see if he's really that good. Maybe put him at punt return, put him at some DB situations, but make sure he's either a wideout or a DB, whatever he's going to primarily play. Here's the Abdul Carter take, and I want to ask Tony. I think they got some pieces to make the Giants better before the season starts. Either trade Thibodeau for some more assets due to the injuries and stuff. Having watched him grow up here in L.A., he's been kind of injury prone. And we know the upside, but do you keep Brian Burns and keep Abdul Carter, obviously, as your draft pick, or do you get rid of one of those 2 and get some more roster fillers? I don't know. I'm curious to know, but I think, to answer your question, Carter is the most impactful in the draft. I'm curious to see what the Giants do with the other pieces up front to get better assets.
Well, I mean, to answer your question, the Giants also have a needed off-ball linebacker, and people, I think, are kind of pigeonholing Abdul Carter as just an edge rusher, which is unfair, because if you go back and watch the 2023 film at Penn State, Abdul Carter was more of a traditional linebacker who could play in space, which means that you can do a lot of different things with him. You don't have to take Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau off the field when Abdul Carter's on there, because, he can do so many things so well. That's why he was the best player in the draft. I don't think that they're going to move any of these guys, or any of the veterans, before the season starts. I think, maybe one of those 2 guys that you mentioned, Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau, could be moved closer to the trade deadline to pick up another piece, to pick up another draft pick, depending on how the season's going.
Hey, Tony, also with that, kind of like, I'm greedy. You can never have enough wide receivers or tackles, offensive linemen, or pitching in baseball. Isn't it true here that with those 3 guys, it can be interchangeable? And I'm with you. I think Abdul Carter can play in some space with his hands, standing up without his hand in the dirt and do both, because he's got bend and all those stuff we talk about. It would have to be and plus I'm guarding against injury. Depth matters at that position. So having 3, while it may be a luxury, sometimes it ends up not being a luxury, and you got to be awful careful moving one of those guys.
You do, especially it may not be a luxury because of what you got to pay him too, because
Right.
such a large percentage of your salary cap is going to those 3 players. Listen, but as you said, as you reinforced, Abdul Carter is a lot more than just an up the field linebacker. You can drop him in the space, you can play him over the tight end, go back and watch the 2023 film. I think right now it's a good problem that the Giants have.
Yeah, Tony Pauline joins us here. Great with the draft. You've seen him plenty, and we're grateful to have him on. He's the consulting editor and draft analyst at sportskeeda.com. Got great stuff at Tony Pauline on Twitter. All right, Tony, this we talk the word fit. Maybe we overuse it, like when we talk. Oh, he fits into this system, and I get it, but the blatant of if you're an option quarterback, old school from Nebraska and Oklahoma, and you're a thrower, that was okay. He doesn't fit to this, he does this, but there's a lot of systems that intertwine now. So is there a player that comes to your mind that maybe we're not talking about, or was a first round pick that you say he's an automatic no-brainer fit for what this team likes to do? Like a running back in Jim Harbaugh's system, right? You can never have enough of those. Is there a guy that sticks out?
There's a couple of them, and they're not all first rounders. I think you got to look at Colston Loveland, who the Bears selected with the 10th pick, with Ben Johnson there. He likes to use the tight end. He likes to throw the ball to the tight end. You look at what Sam Laporta did with Ben Johnson in Detroit. I think that is a great fit. A defensive player who was taken in the 2nd round. Everybody wants to talk about the running backs. Omar Norman Lott for the Kansas City Chiefs. They lost Turk Wharton in free agency to Panthers. They like that smaller, explosive pass rusher to line up next to Chris Jones. That's exactly what Omar Norman Lott is. Go around deeper, Jalen Noel, the speedy receiver from Iowa State, who the Texans selected in the 3rd round. They needed receivers. They got Jaden Higgins around too, which was great. They need another field stretcher because their guy last year got hurt. I think Noel is an excellent fit for the Texans, not only at receiver, but he brings some return potential with him.
Hey, Tony, let me ask something. How close do you compare Milroe to Penix and the situation in Atlanta with Cousins last year, and then they grabbed Penix and everybody was up in arms, and then you got Milroe this year on a 3-year deal with Darnold. Yeah. How are you comparing that at all in that scenario?
It's an interesting comparison. I'm going to say no, only because Milroe was a late 3rd round pick, where Penix, I think, to the surprise of everybody, was the 8th selection of the draft after they gave that huge contract to Cousins. Yep. It is a good comparison at face value. And again, with Sam Darnold, the Seahawks hope they're getting much of what they saw from him that last one single season with Minnesota, as opposed to what went on earlier in his career.
All right, guys, hang right there, because we got to talk about BetterHelp. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Well, let's talk some numbers, man. Okay, when you're making a big investment, we should probably invest in ourselves, which is as important in our mind as our physical health is. You see it all the time, right? We see it out there. If you're not paying attention to that, the physical gets affected by the mental. In my life, it does. So that mental health and health matters for your physical health as well. Let's talk some numbers, man. Traditional personal therapy can cost anywhere from, say, $100 to $250 a session. So, which adds up, and it does it fast. But with BetterHelp online therapy, you can save on average up to 50% per session. That's 50% per session. With BetterHelp, you pay a flat fee for weekly sessions, saving you big time money on cost and time. And the therapy should feel accessible, right? Accessible. You can reach out and touch it. You don't want it to be a luxury. You want it to be accessible. And with online therapy, you get quality care at a price that makes sense and can help you with anything from anxiety to everyday stress, which goes on for so much of us. And quite frankly, probably more underrated than we give it credit. And it's no longer taboo to get therapy, to get help, and up to 50% per session off, you can get that. So therapy should feel accessible, guys. Your mental health is obviously worth it. And now it's within reach, and you can get that therapy online. Listen, if you benefited from therapy at any point in time, if not, it's helpful in learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries for you or your kids when they go on there. You can be proactive in this is a part of the point as well. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 5 million people globally so you can see how many people obviously are invested in their mental health. And I'm assuming it's far deeper than that. So reach out. It's convenient too. You can join a session with a click of a button, helping you fit therapy into your busy life. But don't let therapy not be a part of your busy life. Make sure you're paying attention and investing in your mental health. Plus, switch therapists at any time if it's not working, right? Your well-being is worth it. Visit BetterHelp. That's one word, betterhelp.com/show us today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/show us. And JB, 2026. First off, do you expect Arch Manning to be one and done as a starter? Or will he stick around Peyton Manning style and stick around? Do you expect 2 years with Sark or just one?
Yeah, I think he'll play 1 year for Sark and then he'll move on just because the money, Sean. I think he's more a guy that's already used to it and he wants to be the legacy. The legacy is there for the family lineage. And I think he'll leave 1 year and go. That's my personal opinion. He's already played some time, Sean. And unless you get a Quinn Ewers $8 million offer to stay in college, I think he'll go and chase the real dream of his, which is the Manning family, which is NFL legacy.
How do you live up to the hype? How do you do that? I know they prepared him well. I've known the family for a long time, JB. I mean, I love the Mannings. I was, talking with Cooper at the Super Bowl, his father, about it, and just talking. But they're so present, but not helicopterish. I'm sure he gets a lot of teaching from two quarterbacks or three with Archie there. But they have got a unique way of just letting the guy do his thing, and I think they've mapped out a great plan for him. Most guys in his situation would have transferred. They would have already been gone. They would have left. But kudos to them for sticking out and understanding how good Sark is, what the future is. He only needs one to be a top 5 pick if he plays well. Secondly, he's a really good athlete with a guy who's got, obviously, I'm not worried about his football IQ. I would expect that to be through the roof. His dad's a brilliant money guy and a smart guy and clever. Both Eli and Peyton are top shelf football IQ guys. I don't think it's going to fall far from the tree. But I'm just talking about the pressure to go out. It's hard. Joe Montana's kids, they played quarterback. John Elway's kids.
What about Deion, Sean, and
Shedeur Sanders. I mean, the chances are John's kids was never going to be John and Joe's kids, and Shedeur's not going to be Deion. The statistics point that out. And then you're talking, guys like Michael Jordan. I mean, the list goes on of these guys that have their parents in it, and it's tough to live up. And no bigger than this, if you want to call the Matthews family, the Manning family, the first family, if you have a really good career, the expectations for him to deal with is just another thing for Arch, or is it just so ingrained in his DNA because that's all he's known that this is not pressure to him?
Yeah, I agree. It's like I think we set the kids up for failure, and especially in Shedeur and Deion's world. Deion playing a different position, but now he's the head coach, and the only thing, like Tony said, only thing Shedeur knows is his pops. Same thing. The Manning family lineage, obviously, the DNA and all the things that have gone on. What is that? 4 Super Bowls between the two, and then you got Arch, obviously. Listen, I don't think you can ever live up to it. It's just a matter of how good can you be while you're in the league. And that's what I think Arch has to aspire to be.